In this video, I'm going to show you how I make this Rustic American Flag with the thin red line. First, I start by going to the local lumber yard and get a 4 foot by 2 foot pre-cut birch plywood that's already sanded. And then I have a jig that I made. You can see the lines on there. It's like a template that I use that tells me where all my lines are whenever I put it on the board. It just makes it really easy. You don't have to keep measuring now because it actually works out to be like 1 13/16 inches. And that is a pain to do each and every time you do a flag. And once you get your lines marked where they should go, you take a 4 foot level, you mark out the bottom 6 lines, and you can figure out where the top 7 lines are going to be in relation to your union. That's the part that the stars are in. After that, I'll wood burn each line, sort of make like a break in the lines as I'm staining it. Okay, once you get your bottom 6 lines drawn out, don't worry if you go off the line a little bit. You can always erase it, sand it down if you need to. Now we can start working on the union. I always like to make the line where my union is going to end, usually somewhere around here. And then whenever I take my lines across, I don't worry about going into this area. I just start from that line all the way over to the edge. Now that you have your union figured out, you just continue with your 4 foot level. Just connect the lines all the way across. I use the lines, the marks that I made here, and carry them all the way through. I just did not go through the union to do it. Up next, I wood burn each line with what's called a pyrography pen. Okay, now that we got all of our lines done, that pyrography pen, I went ahead and wood burned the entire flag. All you use is a torch. You can burn it as dark or as light as you'd like. I like to try to burn the edges and try to give it like an aged look so it looks like it's been there for years. Alright, we got our red stripe done. See, there's a little bit of touch up I got to do. It can easily be sanded out. Just hit it with a wood burner again. If it's minor touch up, like around there, you can actually make that line just a little bit darker. And the stain. Okay, as you can see, I got the union done, and I wanted to do one dark stripe and one gray stripe just to see what it looked like. This is the first flag I'm ever doing like this, and I wanted to test it before I got too far into it and had a lot of sanding to do to change it. So next we'll just continue staining each line, and then we'll set it aside to let it dry. Alright, as you can see, we're almost done with the dark lines. When we get done with this last little part, we're going to let it sit for a little bit because I have got a lot of touch-ups to do before I hit the gray. If you're going to do projects like this and try to make money off of them, Give yourself a realistic timeline to get them done. I know you want to get it to them quick, want to get it to them fast. But don't sell yourself short on time. Because you never know what might come up. If your wife tells you something and you totally forget about it, like what happens to me a lot. Alright. Well, that's done. We're going to let it dry for a few hours. Hit the mistakes with a orbital sander. Do any touch-ups on the lines, and then we'll move into the gray. Okay, now that we let it dry for a little bit, there are touch-up spots I need to get to with the sander. And then if need be, I'll just redo the pen, burn it, redo some of the dark if I have to, and keep moving on to the gray. That's all the touch-up I need to do right now. Now, another easy way to do this, to see what you have, what you still have to do. If you have any touch-ups you need to do. Just take a little paper towel. Take some water. That'd be a lot, a little bit. Just give it a wipe down. See how brown or how dark that gets. Just by wiping it down and getting all that sanded particles off. Just go over all your touch-up areas. And right there I got to redo my line. But the rest of it's looking pretty good actually. A little bit of wood burn needed, but nothing major. So just grab my pen. And what's nice is that works even during, if it's wet. Will still burn that part of the wood. Just run along there. Any place where you sanded. Just a touch up. Get back to that wood burn look again. You don't even notice it. Can't tell where it was sanded and where it wasn't. Now we'll let that cool down a little bit before we do the gray. Once we get the gray completed, then we'll map out our grid of stars for the union. Because the template that I have isn't big enough to fill that whole space. We have to map each individual star out to make it look good. Then we will hand etch those stars. When you get your last color done, and look over your board really good and do any touch-ups with any other colors you have on it, just in case, so that way it can all dry together and be ready to go for the next step. I'm just going to wipe this down. To do that, I go from the union across the stripe. Remember, start from the outside, work your way in toward the center. Keep all the excess stain from going into another line. Alright, now that we have let the board dry, we can come in and start working on our stencil for the union. You will need a stencil, a tape measure, pencil, and a calculator or a smartphone. As you can see, the stencil is a lot smaller than what the union is. So if we want this flag to look symmetrical, to look accurate, we're going to need to put each individual star as opposed to just laying down the stencil and just tracing each star where it's at. So I started by putting a star in each corner. Then I found out the center for this middle star, and then I found the center for each of these stars. Did that on both sides. Then I measured half of this star to half of this star by measurement of 17, divided that by 5, which gave me my measurements for each star in between. So now I'm just going to trace those out. It just makes the flag that much better. And the plan is to hand etch these out using a rotary tool, and then coloring in the stars with the gray stain that I've already used on the stripes. Okay, I don't know how well you can see that. But you can see all 50 stars laid out. And the best way you can tell is how they look diagonally. If they look symmetrical and straight diagonally, both ways, then they are perfectly in line with one another. Will make for a good looking flag. Alright, now we have our stars drawn out. Take my rotary tool, what I believe is number 7 bit on the end. Normally you'd want to use like a 5, which is a lot smaller, but these stars are big enough. I think we can get away with the 7. So what we want to do is we want to outline the star first. I'll outline each star, then we'll come back and fill in the middle. There we go. The way I like to do these, I like to keep my hand straight so I can go back and forth with just moving my wrist. You don't want to keep moving your hand around or try to do your angles or your hand's moving. You want to lock your hand in place and go back and forth. Now in this case, I'm going to angle this and bend my wrist like this so I can go. All those pieces you see sticking up there, don't worry about it. You go back through and take out the center. You can just touch those up when you're doing that. So I decided to etch the stars out, outline them, and then chunk them out as I go. It's always a boost to see how it's coming, how it's looking, how the stars are looking. So, there you go. Once you're done, what I do, take a little brush like this. Just brush everything off. We have a little bit of a line here we need to take care of before we move on. Once again, we're going to use our pen, plywood pen. Just going to run it right along that line. Fire up our torch. So dark that line just yet. That's all it takes, a little bit of... Okay. I've actually never done this before, but we're going to see how well this comes out. I'm going to do one star first. So just to test. Nice thing is if you don't get too far down when you're etching them, if you do make a mistake or it doesn't look right, you don't like it, all you have to do is just re-etch it early. Just take a little bit more off. Just don't make more than one mistake. Back to my paper towel method. It's looking okay. I think we get all these spots in here that need to be gray. I think it'll look a lot better. This takes handmade to a whole new level. Get done with this last star. I'll look over it for some touch-ups I might have to do. If all's good, I'm going to let it sit and dry for a little bit, and then we'll seal it up before we put the frame on. Okay, now that it's dried, went over, made sure there's no touch-ups needed. fast drying clear semi-gloss polyurethane from Minwax on. Put one skim coat on, let it dry, and then come back and hit it with a second coat. Okay, this is the finished product. Let's put a basic frame on it. I wanted to keep the frame lighter than what the flag was, so I kept it natural. That way the flag pops more. Then on the back, all I did was attach 2 D-rings and a wire hanger. That's it. Always brand. If you're making it, whatever you make for somebody, just put your name, sign it. That's my initials I put and what year I made it. That's just how I do it. Just remember to have fun and make it your own. Thanks for watching.